So new leads that come into your business are like gold dust. We've worked so hard that we don't want to waste opportunities, but so many people don't know how to respond effectively to new leads that come in. So in this video, I'm going to go through a sales follow-up process that can help you win deals. Let's get to it. So when a new leads come in, we want to take the best chance we can to really maximize our chance of hopefully winning the deal. And invariably, there are some key things you have to do and put in place if you want to make sure you stand that chance. So point number one is this: you have to respond quickly. There was a study that I showed when I was in my previous software business that literally within an hour of someone taking a trial of our software, their ability to convert dropped by 14%. So every hour it dropped and dropped and dropped. So we knew if they took a trial, we had to get engagement with them quite quickly. Pretty quickly, in fact, pretty much straight away, in fact. I remember calling someone that just literally said, I've just literally pressed button to take a trial of your product. I was like, yeah, I know, we wanted to have a chat to you. The key thing is we have to learn how to respond quickly. Invariably, in the prospect's mind, they're thinking something at that time. It may well be they're downloading a guide. It may well be they're inquiring about something. They may well be reached out to 3 or 4 vendors at that time. If you're one of these people that thinks, oh, I'll get back to that within 4 or 5 days, you've lost. So the key thing is to respond quickly. I recommend you responding within 1 hour, minimum within a day. Even if it's an automated tool, as we'll talk about in a moment, make sure you reach out and let the other prospect know that you've received their details and one of your team will be in contact soon. The reality is they're probably doing that with 3 or 4 different people. You leave it too late, you've lost. So point number 2 is this: automate the process. In 2025, there's no excuses if you've got a website and someone's connected and provided you some contact information. There's no excuse for you not to be in a position where you respond back with an automated message. These are simple systems you can put in place that can, when someone's submitted a form, can then send them back an email that says, hey, thanks very much for reaching out. We'll be in contact as soon as we can. And what it can then also do is not just automate the first email, but it can automate tasks afterwards, so that someone in your company is reminded within a day or 2 days or 3 days to reach out and get back to that person. And if that task's not completed, it then can send another reminder and say, hey, you haven't completed that task. The point being is we want to automate that process and that journey, which is why we don't want to just necessarily have emails that go into inboxes. We want to use forms on websites that enable us to capture that information. Or if it does go into an email, we want to then be able to have a notification workflow that can trigger off some other activities. The reality is if you leave it to one individual and that person's on holiday or off sick, you lose the opportunity. Automate the process, map out the journey as we'll talk through of what the stages look like from 1 through to 7, and make sure you've put that into a workflow and then implement that in a CRM system or nurturing system. It's too important to waste time and effort with new opportunities and not do that type of work. It's simple to put in place. If you know how to do it, it can help you, it can give the prospects and guarantees you're going to be back in contact, and it's going to make sure you can then review and report and see who's done their job, when and how. So point number 3 is do this: customize interest. What do I mean by that? So really clever companies will have on their lead form the ability for someone to say, if they've required information related to service A, for example, they'll send them information related to service A. The whole idea is if the prospect tells you what they're interested in and wants some information about a certain area, customize that information so you start to build value quickly. When you start to customize interest and actually even ask the prospect or the other person what they're looking to achieve through maybe a simple reply email that says, hey, thanks for reaching out. What particular part of our service was most interesting to you today? They can click on a link and that can start to build data and information for who that person is and what their challenges are. In sales, the more we know about people, the better it is. So start to customize interest. Start to put some simple responses back onto your emails that ask them to tell you what they were looking for, or is there a particular area of help they were looking to get support for. The reality is some people may not complete it, but the more information, the more you can automate some of those elements, you can build up a picture of the prospect before you even start to have a conversation with them. So point number 4 when it comes to the sales follow-up process is follow up with some purpose. One of the things I see in a lot of businesses is they'll send emails out that say, if you'd like to work with us, click here, or we're really keen to work with you. And it looks desperate in what they're trying to achieve, rather than being able to follow it with purpose and share insights and information that's useful, such as, here's a resource some of our other customers found useful. Here's how we've helped such and such do this. Here's our guide on what to do here. Here's our little test on how to solve this issue. When you start to follow up with purpose and start to share things that are interesting and valuable to the prospect, you start to value stack in their mind who you are and what your company does, rather than just sending up an email saying, do you still want to work with us? Do you still want to work with us? When there's no value to the other person. So give some purpose in what you're doing. Share some insights. If you've got great content to be able to share, put it out there in different emails and see what resonates. You can start to see from your automation process who's responding to what, and that can enable you to do more of that great content if that's what's working. But don't just send stuff that is focused on you, not on the other side. Give them insights, give them value, and if you then have done the right activities with your task in the process, when you call, they're going to be pleased to hear from you. So point number 5 is a simple one. Be really careful on the language that you use. I see people using the phrase just checking in, or just wanted to say hi, or just wanted to touch base. And these phrases mean nothing. They're focused on, again, there's no value to the prospect in what you're trying to do. And the language is also very apologetic. Would it be okay if we can speak? And is it okay with you? We want to show the prospect they're a serious company and that we offer a serious solution whilst also being friendly and engaging people. So being able to say, we're going to call, rather than do you want to arrange a call? Or here's a time that could work for us. Let us know if that works for you. To be in a position where you use language that's more stronger, that is less apologetic, and that's focused on the value that you bring, rather than being hopeful and begging at the prospect begging, well, can you work with me? It doesn't work. It makes you look defeatist. It depositions you. It means the prospect's got the upper hand. And in a sales situation, we want to try and work together to get a solution that works for both sides. Be in a position, your language that you use, both in the messages that you send on email, but in the phrases and the calls and the conversations you have, are strong, they're focused, they're committed to helping and solving problems and challenges as a professional organisation. And you're going to get far better people that want to work with you and see the value that you can bring. And point number 6, just to build on the language that we use, is we want to engage, but not in a weird way. When I had my previous business, there was a company that used to literally send out an email, and they would watch to see who'd opened and clicked on the email. And then their sales team would follow up and say, hey, just wanted to see how things were going today and whether we could interest you in X. And the other person would say, oh, wow, I've just clicked on to do that on your website. Oh, right, I'd love to. And of course, the company that was doing the sales calls knew that they'd clicked, but they didn't say, we've seen that you've clicked. I've also been sent other emails by people that have said, I've seen that you've opened that. And I'm like, oh, you're weird. Make sure that you can engage, but not in a weird way. Show that you've been able to understand what they're interested in, and maybe then suggest other things as a result of that without looking like your big brother for them. So if they've clicked on an email that takes them to a guide, maybe send them another guide to say, hey, those that have liked previous guides have liked this guide as well. It doesn't mean to say, I know that you've done it, but it just shows that you're aware of what could have happened, and you also continue to create value and insight for them. So don't be weird in the way you engage on the phone either. Make sure when you're having those conversations that you don't act like Big Brother and say, I've seen that you've done this, because it's going to put people off. But maybe just say, we're talking to lots of people in the area at the moment around this type of challenge or this type of solution. How are you guys dealing with this? What are the resources that could be helpful for you? Can I share information around X or Y? Knowing that that's something they like, and it's going to build their perception of you in a positive way, and it's going to hopefully help them think, yeah, this is a company I want to do business with. So point number 7, and the key thing is, hopefully in this part of the process, we're starting to have some conversations. Hopefully once we've started to follow up with purpose, we're opening up discussions to do further meetings. But if we're still not getting a joy from someone, then be prepared to adjust the messages you have over time. What do I mean by that? The email I might send after day 1 would have a completely different text to the email I might send after day 30 if I've not heard from that person. The first email might well be about making sure that we're sharing some information that's helpful to them. After day 30, it may well be, we've not heard from you and we wanted to check that what we're sharing is valuable. The point being is different messages will need to adjust over time. If you send the same thing, we're trying to follow up, we're trying to follow up, we're trying to follow up, it's going to make the other person feel like you're trying to hound them and it's not going to work. Sometimes later in stages in the process, I've used a lot of humour. I've used the humour, for example, if you take my sales plan scorecard, and this is a little thing to do, take the scorecard and then don't complete it and basically miss out, see the email sequence that I'll send you. I'll send you a different email sequence than if you have completed it. The point being is I'm trying to add a bit of humour in. I'm trying to indicate some things that might make you smile and laugh and then want to carry something on. So adjust the messages that you use over time. And this applies both in your emails, but also in the phone conversations that you have. If you're leaving a voicemail, for example, the voicemail that you might leave for a prospect after maybe stage 2 might well be trying to get hold of you. The voicemail you might leave after stage 9 might be, what did I do wrong? The reality is you're trying to use different tactics to prise open the door. And it may well be that the person's been on holiday. It may well be the person's been busy with other stuff. but just ensure that you continue to be consistent over a period of time and with different messages, and it's going to help work and make sure that the prospect still considers you when they're thinking of that project or work they're looking to do. So point number 8, simple one, show persistence. In a lead follow-up process, the ones that you're going to win deals and close are more likely to be the ones that you've continued to engage with over a period of time that you realise took a bit of time. Maybe the sales cycle and process for that person is longer than what you hoped it would be. Maybe for them making a decision takes 3 months rather than 3 weeks. The reality is you've got to show persistence. 80% of sales are done on the 5th to the 12th interaction. And actually that was a study done a number of years ago. I think it's even more now. My record here is 19 times I reached out to a lady to talk about and share ideas about how we could help solve a problem for her. And on the 19th time, she came back and said, thanks for your persistence. I'm going to share some other ideas and let's open up a conversation again to do this. 19 times I'd shared some messages around value, I'd shared some resources, I'd continued to engage with her. And I didn't just become a pain in the backside, I was trying to be useful. I was trying to be able to show that I followed up with purpose. I was trying to show that I was someone that she could want to work with and do business with. But the key thing is if you give up too soon, you're cooked. The reality is most salespeople give up after 1 to 5 times. No, you need to be looking at least 10 to 20 times to engage, to be consistent with different messages, and it's going to stand you a far better chance of prizing open that conversation and hopefully getting into a discovery situation and subsequent parts of the process to work together. Be persistent with value. It's the only way in which you want to close deals and make them happen. And my final point, number 9, on how to make sure you put a sales follow-up process to win deals is measure and tweak to see what works. Most people put stuff in place and then forget about it. Well, what you should be looking to do is on a monthly basis, maybe with your marketing agency or colleagues, is to sit down and say, right, how many leads did we get into the process? What happens to these leads? Where do they start to leave us? What happens at this point here? And invariably, what I often see is leads will come into the process in the early stages, they're engaged, and then it starts to peter away over time. So maybe what you need to do is adjust the messaging within message 4 or 5. The key thing is if you don't start to measure and tweak what you're doing over a period of time, then the reality is you're going to lose out on opportunities here that could become business for you that you could close if you were able just to adjust your approach. On an ongoing basis, we have to see what's working. There are things I'm going to share with you that you might put in place that don't work. The reality is nothing's ever a guarantee, but we have to tweak depending on our market to see what can operate and what can make sense. And if we do that and we can adjust things and then start to put some different tests in place, we can start to see results. James Dyson, when he was making his Dyson vacuum cleaner, tried 274 times to make the thing work before it got to a prototype that did what he wanted. And look at him now, he's a billionaire. The way to follow up deals and to get success is to be consistent and persistent and then tweak and amend as you go. And if you do that, you're going to be in a far better position to get the leads that you've created to turn into business that you've won. So there's my sales follow-up process that works. There's so many things you can put in place here that can make it happen. The key thing I'd say to you is don't act desperate, but show that you're an organised professional company that can add value, that can engage in the right way, that is positive about the impact you can make, and you can start to share content both at the top, the middle, and the bottom of the funnel, and it's going to hopefully get those prospects wanting to have conversations with you. If you hold those conversations in the right way and dig into their challenges, they're going to work with you and do business and become customers for a long period of time to come. So that's the video on sales process. Has it helped you? If so, put it in the comment section below. Let me know what works, what didn't work for you. The key thing I want to help you do is build a process that enables you to scale and grow your business. And if you put these elements in place, I know it's going to be successful. But also like and subscribe to the channel. I've got over 600 other videos there to support you to get you great sales results. Use them, make them happen, take them, apply them in your business, and watch your sales and your business skyrocket. Thanks for watching again. Like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you soon.